Man, that team was a monster. I said that was a high school dream team. They had size, it was about five guys that was 6'6" or taller. They had guards, they had shooters.
What's up, everybody? We back. Another episode of the Rec Center TV. Man, I'm Kenny Edwards representing Oakland High with my co-host Lorenzo Parham out of Oakland Technical. Man, we got a solid one today. But before we get into that, Low, what's going on with you, man?
What's going on, Ken? Man, how you doing? I'm excited, Ken. Man, the Rec Center TV is picking up a lot of steam, man. A lot of athletes are inquiring about getting on to the podcast, and I'm excited about today's episode because today is the first day we bring on an actual coach who get to school us on history of his coaching and the OEL and all of those things from the perspective that we don't know of, right? So I'm excited to bring on a legendary coach, man, that could come and give us his story of things that he saw in the OEL, the athlete that he helped groom and bring up and it's a challenge bringing us athletes up to be men, right? But this coach
Absolutely.
have a real history of bringing up great men that come to this program, man. An author, the author, right? I want to hear the author story from this coach right here, man. So, man, without further ado, let's welcome on Coach Dwight Nathaniel, man. Welcome, Coach. Welcome, Coach.
What's up, fellas? Thanks for having me on the podcast, man. Like I say, you guys doing a good job, man. I watched just about every episode, and I really enjoyed myself.
Thanks, Coach. Hey, one of the things, Coach, I want to first do is say that I know my introduction didn't do it much justice after bringing you on, man. But one of the great things I want to appreciate is, man, all of the great men you have turned out through your program, and a lot of the great things you talk about, and you mentioned all these guys in your book that we will talk about later on, man. But first, you want to start off, man, Coach Mo. When did you first start coaching the OL?
Well, I started in OAL back in '92. I was a JV coach at McClymonds. But I actually, a lot of people don't know, I was an AAU coach for 10 years. Uh, and I did 2 years as the Oakland Pal traveling team coach. And I didn't realize it. Coach Harrington, the varsity coach at MACK, he contacted me. We both worked for the city of Berkeley. He told me he needed a JV coach. And I was like, well, man, I don't think I'm going to have time to coach high school. And he was like, man, you got all that time on the book vacation. You can make it work. And it was something different because AAU and high school basketball are two different types of games. But he told me, he said, well, man, you always have been a farm system for us. And see, I didn't know that they knew the majority of my guys in my AAU team was going to MAC. And that let me know that, him and Al Claiborne, who was the former coach in the AD, they were actually following what I was doing as an AAU coach. And so I became the JV coach in '92, and I took over the varsity program 2 years later.
Okay. So, Coach, are you an OEL product yourself? Did you go to school in the OEL yourself, or were you going to school elsewhere as a student?
Oh no, I went to MAC. I graduated in '74. I didn't play basketball. I was a football and baseball player, and I remember my senior year. But I hooped. It's just that I didn't go out for the team. Because after football, the baseball coach, I made the baseball varsity team as a sophomore because we didn't have freshmen then, and we used to start baseball practice right after football season was over. And so I would go to baseball practice, but I was always hooping with the fellas in the gym. And one day, Coach Tapscott asked me to come out for the team. And so I finally decided my senior year I was going to go out for the team, but I broke my wrist at the end of the football season. And so I didn't get a chance to hoop.
Man, so that's one of the great things. We had Will Levy on, Daryl Tucker. His episode will be airing pretty soon. And one of the everybody talk about is Mac family, right? And to say that you was a student at Mac and then you became this coach of Mac, right? Is it against Mack's
Yeah.
religion to have an outsider come coach a McClimate sport?
Coach
Like,
Carter,
can they
Coach
bring,
Culberson, they only
Coach
hire
Carter,
within.
because then you got to be a part of Mac family to get that coaching job, at least the head coaching job at Mac. You got to have the name.
Yeah.
First
Yeah.
thing they look at on the resume is, did you go to Mac? If
Yeah.
you didn't go to Mac, you're not going to understand the culture at Mac, right? So Mac have a different culture, man, that only Mac family understands, right? So coach, you come in, and what was the really big challenge from coaching AAU to coaching high school for you?
Well, it's a difference. As AAU basketball, it's all about winning. That's all you care about. You just want to win. You do whatever it takes to win. But when you get to high school basketball, now it's about developing young men. You got to build character in them, teach them some life skills, help prepare them for the challenges they're going to meet, the challenges that they're going to meet as they move forward in life. And I used to always tell people that we don't judge our program at McClymonds by the wins and losses. We expect our kids to win a lot of games. We judge our program on what they do after they leave McClymonds. They go on in their life, go to college. All of them don't go to college. Sometimes it's just putting a productive citizen in society. So that's basically what, high school basketball is really about. But in addition to all that, I personally felt that you need to make sure the kids were having fun while they're doing it too. A lot of people used to talk about the program. I remember Frank Otis told me one time that Aaron Gordon told him, not Aaron, what was the older brother named? Drew.
Hmm.
Drew Gordon told him, man, I couldn't play for your coach, man. He seemed like he too strict and everything, restrictive on y'all. And Mook say, man, you play for Coach Mo, you'd love it, man. We wouldn't have it no other way, because a lot of times kids want discipline and structure in their lives,
Absolutely.
you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man.
Mm.
That's great, man. Because I'm thinking of some of the McClymonds guys that played on your team. The Eric Cobersons, man, great guy. I played football with. You got
Yes,
Will
sir.
Levy
He
and
cold.
all these great guys, man. So when you take over at varsity in '94, right? Is that the hold on? Did
Yeah.
that the year you guys won it? That's the year you guys won it in '94, right? Did you guys win it your first year as a coach, or was it
No,
your second
no,
year?
no. 94, we made the playoffs, and it was funny because we ended the OAL with a 5-5 record. But I knew we were going to be in the playoffs because of the tiebreaker. A lot of people didn't understand the way the tiebreaker went, but I didn't let my team know. We lost that last game, I believe, to Tech at home, and the kids thought their season was over. After the post game, I went on let them think the season was over because there's nothing worse than that feeling when the season is over. Now you got to turn your shit in and everything, and seniors move on, and the guys for next year they got to go through the whole summer and fall before they come back. And so I called each kid individually that night and talked to them to see where their head was. And before I got off the phone, I told them, "I'll see you guys at practice tomorrow." Practice? We practice tomorrow for what? I said, "Fellas, we in the playoffs." And they were like, "You jiving, you jiving." No, we in the playoffs. And it was funny because that year we made the playoffs. We beat Oakland High the first round. Sorry, Ken, but and then we played Fremont, and Fremont had swept us that year in the regular season, and so we knocked them off the first night. And so the second night we played them, and it was funny because we took a 2-point lead with a little over a minute to go, and we were bringing the ball up court. And as soon as the ball got across half court, my plan was to take a timeout to go over our last set and go what we wanted to do defensively. And just as the ball came across half court, the Fremont guy tried to steal it, and I'm calling timeout at the same time, and he missed the ball. And Shea George, Howard George, he would have had a clear path to the basket for a layup, but they gave us the timeout. And so on the inbound play, Frank Knight stole the ball, and
Oh
they went down and
wow.
tied. They went down and tied the game up. And so we had another opportunity to score. We didn't. They had the game tied. Now they had the final possession, The ball go up. We battling for the rebound. The buzzer sound. We think we going in overtime. And this one referee, he came over and said, "No, no, no. I have a foul." I'm like, "You got a
Mm.
foul? There's no time on the clock." And so they huddling up, and I found out later the other officials was trying to get the guy to back off. Like, man, let the kids decide the game in overtime. He was like, "No, no, no. I know my whistle went off just before the horn."
Oh
So
man.
they at the table, and I go toward the table, and Clarence Mapp, who was the third official at the table, he told me and Clint both to go back to our benches, that they were handling it. So, I stepped back to the bench, Clint stepped back to his bench, and then they determined that they were going to put a tenth of a second on the clock and let the guy go to the free throw line. And I told my kids, I said, "Well, look, fellas, all we got to do is hope he missed the first one and we get to overtime." When he got to the line, the referee said 2 shots. Now I'm going, but it's like 2 shots out. He said it was a controlled tip with one hand.
Oh come on,
And
man.
so,
Mm.
yeah. And so the guy made the first free throw, then he missed the second one intentionally. And they won the game. So as we're lining up to go through to do the handshake afterwards, bottles start flying down from the rafters. So I told my kids
Mm.
to just go straight to the locker room. And I remember the police came and told us to stay in the locker room till they came to get us. And we were back there for about 30 minutes. When we came out, man, it had to be about 30, 40 police cars. They were riding all around the Kaiser Center and Laney, all the way to downtown. They had to escort us back to McClymonds. And it started a big riot that night over
Mm.
that guy making that bad call. But I told people that was just some of it. I don't, you guys had to be at the games back then. Inside our games, especially we play Fremont, it was like Vegas. Guys is
Mm.
betting, and I'm telling my cameraman, "Dude, you can't be around them because I'm making these using these tapes to send out to college coaches, and I'm hearing all this profanity. Man, fuck that nigga. Man, I got 100 on this motherfucker. Man, I'm like, dude, we can't have. I'm having to mute the tapes when I send out the tapes to the coaches. And he's like, "Coach, it's like they follow me. They know I'm the cameraman. They want to be around me." And so a few days later, I ran to the official that was at the table, and he said, "Coach, in the future, appeal to the official at the table because I could have overruled that call and sent the game in overtime." I said, "Dude, that's bullshit. If you had that power, you
You
should have
should
did
have
it
did it.
anyhow."
Right.
I said, "Because
Anyway.
you told me and Clint to step back, y'all were handling." He said, "Well, all we were trying to do was determine that there were time left on the clock." And the Kaiser Center was the only place we ever played that back then that had a tenth of a second on the shot clock. I mean, on the game's clock. And so I just told him, I said, "Map, that's bullshit, man. You should have automatically overruled that call and sent it to overtime."
Yeah,
You know,
but that was the year Fremont went to state, right?
yep,
Yeah, so that wouldn't even
yep.
happened if y'all pull it out in overtime.
Well, the thing about it is, they had a good enough season that year. They probably could have got an at-large bid.
Mm.
And see, that's what people didn't understand back then. The OAL winner would always go to the NorCals, but they would do whatever they could to keep our team out of the NorCal. The second runner up,
I didn't even know
we
it was a
always,
possibility.
oh yeah, it was always a possibility. Your commissioner would just have to submit you as an at-large team, and so that next year, that's when we won it when we beat Oakland High.
He keeps saying
Okay. Oh,
Hey,
hold on. Hey,
no,
hey.
no, hey
I,
kid, all of this is because of the past podcasts I done watched, and it's always Oakland High. And whenever they talk about that, who's the toughest player you ever played against, Kenny Edwards. Kenny Edwards. So, no, man,
hey,
I'm just having a little fun with you,
No,
kid.
but hold on,
hey,
hold on.
coach.
Back up. We cannot go forward without talking about arguably the best MAC team in history. That 92-93 team, your first year coaching. But you're an assistant coach at the time, but still, 92-93. We got to talk about what that was like, the guys that were on that, like, what was it like coaching that team?
Man, that team was a monster. I said that was the high school dream team. They had size. It was about five guys that was 6'6" or taller. They had guards. They had shooters. It was Anthony Bird, Lewis Jackson, Bernard Monroe was a consummate point guard. Darnell Stamps, Kelton Ronalds, Curtis Clanton. It was just they were 12 deep, and coach knew he was going to be good that year, so he scheduled all the top teams in Northern California to play. The only one we couldn't play that didn't want to play us was Jesuit because all year MACK and Jesuit had been changing spots as the number one and number two team, and they hadn't lost. It's just that I guess the opponents they were beating, they figured, well, we'll move MACK up. Now we'll move Jesuit up. And so I remember when the playoffs started, I think we blew out St. Ignatius uh, at Cal State Hayward. And I remember prior to the playoffs starting, Coach Herons, he sent Duck, Robert McCready, up to scout Jesuit. I had to go down to San Jose to scout St. Ignatius, and he went to watch De La Salle play. And to be honest, I think he overlooked De La Salle. And when we came out of the Coliseum, first thing came out of his mouth was the officials that were doing the game. He said, "Oh shit, man, we got these guys. This is going to be a long night." And so when the game started, they were calling fouls. I mean, we got sweat on guys. It was a foul. They had one kid that I think he was 27 from 30 from the free throw line. He scored 27 points from the free throw line. And
Mm.
Duck and myself, we were trying to get Coach Heron to kind of change our style, because they were calling everything, and that was a because I think we still could have won that game, but Coach was stubborn. He was like, "Look, this is the way we played all year long. We either gonna win or lose playing the same way." We had guys fouling out left and right, and they ended up upsetting us that night, and that was it. It was 26-1. So I get asked all the time if I think that team could have beat my undefeated state championship team, and I said without a doubt because they were too deep, and we only went seven deep, and our sixth and seventh man, was probably on par with their 11th and 12th man. So I just think overall they would have gotten us.
Got it. Hey, Coach, I want to ask a question. One of the things that we know from, and you said Bill Green was going to send you this guy and stuff like that. I didn't. I know Mac didn't do a lot of recruiting, but you guys got a lot of players that come to you guys to your school to play basketball, right? And how did you gel with that without recruiting these kids? You got Will Levy that transferred from Skyline, Daryl Tucker that transferred from where Tuck came from Tech. You Tuck come from Tech. I'm thinking who else? You got Marcus Cole that come from Berkeley High. You got Doug that came from
Hey,
Berkeley High, and all these guys coming
hey,
to play for you. What was that feeling like?
hey, Lorenzo, uh, who told you that we didn't recruit?
Oh, my bad.
We knew we
Hey,
was trying not to get y'all.
hey, hey, hey. The funny thing is that we didn't recruit any of those guys that you mentioned. But I used to tell
Oh,
people that recruiting on the high school level, at least in the OAL, was bigger than college. We recruited
mm,
all the time. And the thing is a lot of people didn't know in the OAL at the time as part of open enrollment, incoming ninth graders could go to any school in the city that they wanted to go to if that school had room. MACK always had room. And so a kid could live across the street from Skyline or Castlemont and come to MACK as an incoming freshman. So we used to work really hard to get those kids to come in then because some kids, a lot of kids would pass. I could tell them, look, you can fuck with us now and make it easy, or you can not fuck with us at all, or you can fuck with us later and it'll be harder. I say, but what's going to end up happening is you're probably going to end up not fucking with us and wish you had her. And that happened quite a bit where parents or players would come to me later, damn, coach, I wish you would have listened to you, man. This other coach sold me a dream. And so,
mm,
it was funny because Booz was my guy. Orlando Watkins was Doug Vieira's guy, and Jewel Milstead was Frank Knight's guy. And those guys would be in the gym every Saturday morning, early as 8 o'clock, watching the eighth graders play all the tournaments, And so if Boo saw a kid that he thought, could play at MACK, because, some kids can't handle the environment at MACK. And he would let me know. I'll come out and look at the kid, and if their parents was thinking about sending them, then I have to be the closer, and I come in to close the deal. But one of the biggest way we got kids was we used to always laugh, Booz and I talking about we like the Oakland Raiders. The Raiders always took rejects from other teams and won with them. And
Mm.
then Will Levy's case, Will played for me when I was coaching the PAL traveling team. And
Oh.
when I got the MAC job, I'd heard he was unhappy at Skyline. And I called him and I say, dude, I hear you unhappy. He said, yeah, coach, I'm trying to find somewhere to go, man. He say, you got any idea? I said, well, I just got the MAC job. He say, what? Coach, let me talk to my pops. I'm coming to MAC. And so I remember we had the coaches meeting at the beginning of the season. And Sean Donnelly, who was a coach at Skyline at the time, was talking about any kid that transfers from a high school and he's already played at that previous school shouldn't be allowed to play at the high school. And the coach at the new high school shouldn't let him play. And I remember telling them at the meeting, I said, well, Sean, that's sort of like your kid. You got a kid named Will Levy who's coming to MAC now. I say, but his parents have moved down on Market Street, 24th and Market. And I didn't know at the time that Will actually weren't moving, but that was their family home because I knew because I went to school with his dad and his uncles them. We used to be over to the house all the time. And so I said, and it'll be unfair and unjust for me not to let that kid play if he's moved into my district. So we're going to check all this paperwork when school starts and everything. And if everything's legit, he's going to play, you know. And in Tuck's case, McGavick just didn't know what he had. Tuck was
Mm.
over there. Tuck had broke his arm, but he said before then, he went out, they had intramurals. He say, McGarrett will put him like out there with the second or third team, let him go up and down the court a couple of times, and then sub out for him. And so he
Mm.
say, when he finally talked to coach about play, he say he was so excited he run outside to go play with the guys like he gonna be able to come out and play, and he broke his arm. But his AAU coach at the time contacted me and told me that McGavin wasn't really messing with the kid, and his mom was kind of upset about some of the teachers at Tech. And I remember telling him, well, just send the kid by and have him talk to me. And so we in practice, and I remember, I knew little Adriel. They down there shooting, Tuck just going up, dunking the ball, but when I start practice, everybody got to go. So I put them out. So then the next day, they back in there again. Practice getting ready to start. I said, youngsters, didn't I tell y'all yesterday y'all got to go? So they leave. About 15 minutes later, see, their coach worked at the Market Street Y, so I guess they went over there to talk to him, and he said, well, go back over there and tell him I sent you. So they knock on the door. I go open the door, and I said, Adriel, what the fuck y'all want, man? I told y'all, well, Coach Manson told us to come talk to you. I said, you Daryl Tucker? He said, yeah. I said, dude, why you didn't tell me that the first day? I had ran that kid off 2 days in a row. And so I allowed them to stay in and watch practice then, and Adriel said, Coach, I'm coming too. And so we allowed Tuck to play with us that summer. And I knew that kid was going to be special, man. Tuck was doing unbelievable stuff, you know. And like I told Ken earlier, we tried to get Marcus Cole since he was a freshman coming in. He went to, I think, Emory the first year. Then he went to Berkeley High. And finally, I don't know what was going on. There's always something going on at these other schools, or kids want to get out for a reason. So Adriel came, Coach Cole want to come now. He want to come. I said, well, just tell him to holler at me, and see, he staying down in the lower bottoms the whole time, so he was already living in the district, and Cole was a really good player for us. And I remember telling him, Coach, the family, they loving the Mac house, man. They say, man, you should have been here since the freshman year. We loving it. I say, yeah, well, I figured you guys would. And like I told Ken before we came on air, Cole get the ball, the crowd used to just say, let it rain. Because that kid used to knock down three.
So, coach, I got a question for you. So, where did Dominique Ingerson come from, and who was the better shooter, Ingerson or Marcus Cole?
Well, that's hard to say because Dominique put in a lot of work and he ended up probably being a better shooter later on than Marcus. But when he first came in, Marcus was the better shooter, and I had Dominique playing JV for a long time. He wanted to play varsity, but I tried to tell him as a freshman with the guards we had, he wasn't going to get enough playing time to develop that he needed to be. So I had him on JV, and that's when that kid started lightening up. Next thing you know, he putting up 25, 27. And so eventually for the second half of the OAL, we bought him up. But we used to call him Rudy Poop because all he did was whine. He just whined. And so,
You can't whine at McClimon's, man. You can't whine at
yeah,
McClimon's.
And so I remember we got to the second round of NorCal that year and we lost to Vallejo. And after the game, Dominique in there in tears, because he didn't play a whole lot. And so I went to talk to him, and the athletic director say, Coach, let me handle this. Look here, you little Rudy Poot ass motherfucker. You just a freshman and shit. You wasn't ready for this shit. And all of a sudden, Dominique go from crying to busting out laughing. And so that became his new nickname was
Rudy
Rudy Poot.
Poo. Rudy Poo.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
And it was a shame how we lost that kid because that year, his freshman year was my last year because I don't know if you guys knew I was the MAC coach on three different occasions. After the '98 season, Tuck senior year, I stepped down and Booze took over.
Yeah, and that's when Oakland
And
High started whooping that ass. When Booze took
yeah,
over.
well, hey, but you know what? Watching y'all podcast, I said I'm about to give Booze a hard time because
Yeah, I already do.
he was slipping because he should have had Deshaun Freeman and Paul Marigney. Because they
Yeah,
both
yeah,
lived up the street from
yeah.
Mac.
And
And then
Marigny.
to
The
hear,
Marigny people went to Mac.
yeah, yeah, and Deshaun's mama went to Mac.
Ah, Booze.
Mm.
She graduated from Mac. And if we knew that he was having all them problems in public school, particularly if I was the coach, I would have talked to Don, his mom. We could have made that happen because I'd have told her, "Oh no, just give us 1 year, and I'm guaranteed you're gonna see a difference in your boy."
Coach, you a fan of the podcast, and you heard a lot of the McClimate stories, right? Being on the sideline, and you heard about the lights getting cut off in the gym, and we had people say when they was at McClimate's, they had to play, and the lights go off in the gym, and people rushing the other opponent team, right? Was that some initiation tradition that went on at Mac, or is that
Well,
how much myth is
well,
in that?
well, that happened a couple times during my tenure, but it wasn't directed at the opposing fans. One year it happened, they were after one of my players. Uh, the lights went out. Next thing you know, they jumped Luke Man and his brother. And Luke Man them
Mm.
down up under the bleachers tried so guys couldn't get at him. And I'm pissed as hell. And then when it came down, I remember Truck. I said, "Well, Truck, what the fuck going on, man? Why y'all jumping?" Look, and it turned out that my goddamn team manager, who was from the bottoms, had got into it with Luke Mon. And I guess he knew if he fought Luke Mon, he was gonna get his ass whooped. So he went down there and told the niggas in the bottom, and their thing was they gonna get Luke Mon. So when the lights would, they one of them, because our light panel didn't have a lock on it. As soon as the game ended, they shut the lights out and started jumping Luke mine. And so we had to get them and rush them in the room and stuff. Another time it happened, the lights went out, but people started throwing coins, you know. And at that point, it was like, hey, they wasn't. It wasn't necessarily throwing at the opposing team. They were just throwing at anybody, and doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
Now, according to the Skyline, Don Lippy, when he was at Skyline, he told me one time that the lights went out and they threw coins at them. But that was before my time. But there's some truth to the lights going out at the Mac house. So the
Yeah,
good thing is though,
I used to hate playing that Mac.
hey, the good thing is though, the panels only cut out the lights on half the gym. See, you had to cut the lights out on the boys' side to turn the lights out on the boys' side of the gym. You had to go to the other panel to turn the lights out on the girls' side of the gym. So, and the girls' side had to actually lock on it. So most of the time when the lights went out, only half the gym was dark. Yeah. Hey, but
It's a
hey, the Mac.
science to it.
Hey, I used to tell everybody. I say there's high school basketball, there's OAL basketball, and then there's basketball at McClymonds High School.
Facts.
I say, and you have to experience all of it just like that to know what I'm talking
Right, right.
Facts.
It is,
about.
man. One of the things that's what you said earlier was you left in 1998. What year did you come back to coach, and what brought you back on the sideline?
They
Well,
actually
I
was
came back.
losing,
I think
though. They was losing too much.
no, not really, because that year that Fremont won state, Bulls then went back to the playoffs. They lost to Fremont in the championship game, and they was ripping Bulls' ass about that. Now, because first when Bulls took over for me, I said, "Well, Bulls, you need to prepare yourself," because guys used to come up to him, "Bulls, you should be the head coach. Mo don't know what the fuck he doing." And so when Booz took over, I said, "Well, Booz, you need to understand something. Them same guys that used to come up to you talking about me, they're gonna be talking about you now."
Yep.
And a lot of them did. Mo, you talk to Booz? I said, I talk to Booz every night. Man, what the fuck he doing? I said, look, dude, you want to know what Booz doing? You need to talk to Booz. I said, because I don't want to hear that shit because you said the same shit about me. Then they walk
Right,
on. And so I told Booz at the end of that year, I said, Booz, dude, you didn't have the year that you wanted to have. I said, but when you look at it, you made it back to the OAL championship and you lost to the that one state. That's a successful season, dude. Booz coached with me the whole time I was a coach at MACK, except for 1 year. When I actually came back, I guess that was the start of the. Let me see. He did 99, 99, 2000. So I guess I came back to 2000, 2001 season and shit. I guess that was after your senior year, huh, Ken?
Yeah, right when I left. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And I told Booz, because first I wasn't coming back to MAC. I stepped away from coaching because I said either I'm gonna keep coaching or I'm gonna end up in divorce court. So I told my wife that I was gonna see Tuck through, and then that was gonna be it. In the first year, we traveled a lot, but then that second year, man, I'm getting antsy. I'm around the house and shit, bored as fuck. And I want to go back into coaching, but I don't know how to break it to her. And one day she came and she said, "Sweetheart, you gonna ever go back to coaching?" I was like, "I don't know if the right job came along." She said, "Well, you need to find a job because shit, you around here going crazy and you driving me crazy." And so I played it off like it wasn't a big deal. When she went upstairs, I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah,
hey, coach. I,
yeah."
I, I ask I ask a lot of these people that get on here this question. You're not exempt from this question either, right? I need you to tell me who who you coached against in the OEL that was an underrated player. That you felt was a dog. He was a little underrated. And then I want you to tell me who you coached against in the OEL that was overrated. That as a player, you're like, man, this kid kind of overhyped. Give me the overrated and under.
Man, that's gonna be hard, man. Um, Let me think on that. Overrated. It's hard to say that they were overrated because I never paid much about rankings and talk about kids. I only based it on what players did against us. And one thing I could say, um, Calvin Criddle, when they played us, Calvin Criddle really didn't do much against us. I think one game he might have had about 12 or 14, but he basically didn't do a whole lot against us. But when it came all city time, I gave that kid a first team all city vote because he was killing everybody. I mean, one game, Criddle even put up 49. And,
Mm.
a lot of coaches used to base their selection on how kids did against them. But, because of our defensive scheme, a lot of these top players, they just had average games against us. Sometimes they still won, sometimes they lost, but they weren't doing a lot. But what I would always do is I watch the box scores and see what kids are doing against all the other teams. And Calvin Criddle was tearing the OAL up. And one day his dad asked me, "Damn, coach, I don't know what it was about y'all, man. What it was y'all do to my kid, man? He killed everybody but y'all." I say, Will Levy. That's pretty much what it
That's what I
was.
was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
Oh,
Leave
it
him
was it was
alone.
Will Levy. Hey, Will Levy was a great player, but he still didn't get a lot of credit he was due. Because Will not only was good, Will was dirty. Will was sneaky with his.
Hey, everybody I talk to,
Someone
if
else
you
said
bring
that
up
too.
Levy, they gotta throw in the
They
elbows.
say, they say he be
Hey,
physical with the elbow.
hey,
Yeah, everybody said.
and and the elbows was sharp. I remember one year in the jamboree, he caught a couple guys, left them out there with bloody noses and stuff. But a lot of time it was because a lot of guys were smaller than him, and they would be elbow level. And we always taught our kids when you rebound, you chin it and go one way. And sometimes that one way catch somebody, and the officials, if it's clean, they're not going to call it. But like I say, Will was sneaky with his and stuff. But that's one thing about the OAL, man. They had so many great players, and I was telling people,
Absolutely.
recent years it got kind of watered down because I remember when any given game you could be beat by anybody in the league. That's just how tough the league was,
Yes.
and every time you went into the game, it was a battle,
Yes.
you know, and stuff.
Who's the name
Um,
that stands out? I mean, you coached a lot of years, but even to this day, that you just like, man, if we never have to play that dude again, that would be great.
hmm,
They got, I
Leon
want to say
Poe,
Leon Poe. I was
Leon
about to
Poe.
say, I want to say Leon Poe, man.
Leon Poe.
Leon Poe, right?
Leon Poe. I thought I was gonna get Leon when I came back because I was real close with B Ward, and I was like, and I remember what McGavick said about not developing big guys, and I was like, oh yeah, and I'm back, man. I got to holler at B Ward because I need the pole man over here. But B said, ah, Mo, he want to stay over there with his partners, man. He don't want to leave. I said, well, I can respect that.
You feel
Hey,
like? Do
coach, I
you
got to.
feel like all your experiences up to this point led into that 2008 season to just make it like the perfect?
Well, a lot of things, like I always tell the kids, you get better in summer and spring. When you're all season, you got to put in the work to get better. And I always tell them, we as coaches, we got to do things to get better too. So every summer, I go to at least two coaches clinics. Always trying to learn more, learn more. I remember, we for one reason we couldn't fuck with De La Salle for shit because they run that goddamn Princeton offense, and they always take the shot in the last 5 seconds of the shot clock, and they basically lulling our kids to sleep. So one year I seen Pete Carell, who was a former Princeton coach, was working for the Sacramento Kings now, and he was going to be at this coaching clinic up in Sac. So I went to the coaching clinic, and he actually talked about the Princeton offense, gave out all these handouts and everything, talked about the offense, and I studied that. And '07 and '08, them 2 years we went to state, we would spend at least 15 to 20 minutes every day working on the Princeton offense. And the kids was like, well, coach, why we always working on that Princeton offense, but we never run it in the game? I say, to be honest with you, y'all ain't smart enough to effectively run it in the game. But why are you teaching it to us? So you understand the principles of it. When you know how it works, you know how to defend it.
Right.
And
Mm.
those last 2 years, we never got beat backdoor against De La Salle no more. Now we start hounding De La Salle. And I remember one time we were playing them in '07 at Cal State East Bay, and one time Will Cherry broke down and got beat on a backdoor layup by Joe C. And I'm staring him down, and he runs over to me. My fault, coach, my fault. And I said, motherfucker, I know it's your fault. Why you think I'm looking at you? And then he go to I say, youngster, don't let that shit happen again. And he was like, I got you, coach. And he didn't. But I told the kids, we had to learn the Princeton offense to be able to effectively defend it. So we put in time to learn more and more because I did a lot of scouting and stuff, but you know, when I lost my wife in my car accident, shit, man, I was drinking and shit. And I was like, I was becoming an alcoholic. And I was like, I decided I had to go back to coach because coaching I was going crazy at the house. So I said, well, I got to get control over the drinking because I can't be around the kids. And so I was able to pull myself out of that. But going into that last season, my oldest daughter committed suicide, and she took my grandbaby with her, and that was tough. I started drinking again. My plan was like, you know what? I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this and stuff. And so Mook called me and he told me, he said, well, coach, we all met in the parking lot. We all cried, man. And we just wanted to let you know that if you come back, we're going to get you back to state. And I made that commitment to go back to them. But to back up, back when my wife died, I didn't know if I was going to go back to coaching. So the season had got ready to start as far as practice and all that. And I still went back and I said, well, Booz, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, man. I need you to take over and run the program. So when I finally come back, here come Tom with all kind of bullshit. And then, he can't run the day because his knee hurt. There was something else. Then one day he shows up about 30 minutes late. I'm like, dude, what's going on? Coach, I had to go home to take a shit. I said, Tom, nigga, you could have shitted right on the bathroom. Man, I'm not using the bathroom. I said, hold on, dude. You forget. Every game, you got to get that nervous shit out, and I let you go into the coach's bathroom. So what make you think I wouldn't let you go in there now? Well, man, I said, dude, you know what? I don't want to hear it, Tom. I said, guess what, dude? If you don't play a minute of basketball this year, you still got at least 10 schools that's going to scholarship you. All you got to do is pass your SAT. So, nigga, focus on passing your SAT. I don't want to see your fucking ass no more. So I kicked him off the team. You know, oh man, this his mama calling everybody. I said, nah, your boy full of bullshit. Tell him to focus on the SAT. He got a scholarship. That's why he playing. But coach, man, he just fucking up more. He getting into this, he getting into that because he ain't got basketball. I said, well, Mama D, your son got to figure it out. And finally, after about 3 weeks, he called me, humbled as fuck. Came back, no problems off Kellogg. He being a consummate leader, everything. But like I say, I told him one thing we were going to have in the program is accountability. I think 2002 was the only we didn't make the playoffs because I think in my 14 years we had made the playoffs every year but one, and we had 10 NorCal appearances. I laughed when I heard Paul Marigney talking about catching the bus to Hayward, and then he ended up at Castlemont because of Johnny Larigo. His mom knew Johnny Larigo and stuff, and Johnny Larigo told him, "Well, I know people at MACK too, so if you don't want to come here, I can help you get into MACK." I guarantee you, if Paul had said he wanted to go to MACK, Johnny not only wasn't going to help him get into MACK, he's going to do everything he could to keep that kid at Castlemont, because I knew Johnny Arrigo. Johnny used to be a counselor at MACK. Then he was at Tech. He was assistant coach at Tech before he went over to Castlemont. Then one year I get a call from Johnny about a kid of his. Oh, this kid's an asshole. He can't play. He gonna be a cancer. Doing all this stuff, all negative,
I know exactly who
and
you're
wanted
talking
me to,
about.
hey, and wanted me to tell him that I wasn't gonna play the kid.
I know
I said, well,
exactly who you're
Johnny,
talking about.
you know, I would love to tell you that. I said, but I got a new principal, and he just met with all the coaches, and he talks about being fair and this and that, and you have to understand the circumstances of kids and this and that. I say, so I can't tell you I'm not gonna play the kid. If the kid comes and his paperwork all in order, then I'm gonna have to let him play. He said, well, Mo, that's gonna be a mistake, man. I'm telling the kid, he's gonna kill your program. I said, well, Johnny, thing about it, if he don't hurry up and come, my team gonna be set, and he gonna have to play JV because I think he was a sophomore. So I'm talking to my athletic director about it. All of a sudden, I get a call into the principal's office. Uh, First, a counselor told me Johnny Rigo called about some kid trying to come, coach. He said he don't want him to play. I said, yeah, he called me. And so the principal called me in there. Coach, what's this I hear about this kid transferring from Castlemont and you not going to let him play? I said, what you talking about? Well, I talked to Mr. Larigo and he told me you already agreed to not let him play. Johnny covering all the bases with everybody. It just so happened when it happened that the AD was in a meeting with the principal, and me and the AD had been talking about the kid. And so I said, well, no, it's just the opposite. I said, Mr. Hamilton, I told him I got a new principal who tells us we got to be fair. It's just the opposite of what you said. And the AD say, yeah, coach telling the truth because me and him been talking about the kid. And Mr. Hamilton say, well, coach, I said, man, fuck this. I can't wait till I see Johnny. Nah, coach, I want you to promise me you ain't going to never say nothing to Mr. Larigo because we're going to make sure this kid plays. So I leave out and I see a kid coming down the hall. And see, I didn't know the kid by name,
Mm.
his face and stuff, but I knew he was a player. And I say, damn, this kid coming to the house, he went to Castlemont. That can't be the kid Johnny talking about though, because that's his fucking best player. And he come down, hey coach, how you doing? I say, how you doing, man? What you doing here? I'm transferring in. I say, what's your name? Delonte Hoskins. I say,
Yep.
ain't this a bitch? Johnny tried to play me. I said, Johnny, I got a bone to pick with you, man. He said, what you mean, coach? I said, dude, I told you how Mr. Hamilton was, and you still went behind my back to the motherfucker said, nah, coach, Mr. Hamilton misunderstood. And I said, how in the fuck can he misunderstood that? So I had issues with Johnny, but that was my last year. After that, Johnny started hating on booze. He wrote a letter that he sent to the commissioner, the principal, everybody about booze behind CG and Big Henry. You know, Castlemont beat them. CG didn't want to go through the line and shake hands. Henry had the ball. Johnny said, can I get my ball, Henry? And Henry just threw the ball to him. It went through Johnny's hands and hit him in the gut. Now, Bulls saw all that. And Bulls had benched them for the Skyline game. But you would have thought if Johnny was, cool and our friend, he would have called Bulls to talk about that instead of writing a letter. And so, I said, Bulls, see, that's what I'm saying, man. Johnny ain't cool, man.
Hey, coach, one of the things I want to ask you about when we spoke about
Hey,
Antonio
hey, hey, hey,
Costello.
hey, Lolo. Before you go into that, I want to clarify something, and I hope he gets a chance to watch this because Marshawn and them did their little barbershop discussions,
Hmm.
and they were doing it on OAL teams and stuff like that. And Armand Wainwright was on
Okay.
there talking about how I did him and then and filed a protest to keep him from playing. And like I told you guys earlier, I have never tried to stop a kid from playing in the league. And the funny thing about it is, uh, Luis Rubio, he called me one time and about this kid, from Mount Eaton who was leaving Mount Eaton and he wanted to come to MACK. And when he mentioned the name, I knew who Armand was. And I was like, well, Louise, that's going to be a hard thing. That's a high profile kid. And he was like, well, coach, he got family in West Oakland, everything. I said, well, you know what? You're a third party. You're a guy, this and that. And I say, have Armand come to the game. And after we play tonight, I can talk to him and see everything where it is. So Luis showed up, but Armand didn't show up. And he said, well, coach, I don't know why he didn't come. He was supposed to be here. So the next day, I'm reading the paper, and Fremont had played Kennedy from SAC, and I read that Armand Wainwright had like 15 points. And I was like, oh, that's why he didn't come to talk to us, because he played for Fremont last night. you know, and we always had a thing, particularly Clint and I, because that was one of my biggest rivals when our coach was Fremont, probably the biggest rival. And we all put in our work during the summer, and when we landed players, we always congratulated each other. And so they had Armand. It was okay. It was good to go because I think when they beat us, Armand didn't play. When we beat them, Armand played. So when they had all the forfeit games, Fremont forfeited all their games up to that point, and it didn't affect us because, like I say, we lost to them without Armand, and we beat them with Armand. So we weren't affected. We were indirectly affected because we still ended up in second place. But because of the losses, now Tech went from third place to first place, and Skyline went to third place. And so Clint was telling me, well, man, we appealing to the Board of Education, man. They gonna put us back in. I said, well, Clint, you better hope they put you back in before Friday. I said, because I don't have a problem beating Skyline on Tuesday, beating Tech on Thursday, and if they put y'all back in, we'll play y'all on Friday. I say, but I'm not gonna beat Skyline on Tuesday, beat Tech on Thursday, then gotta turn around and beat Tech again on Friday, and then come play you guys on Saturday. I said, I done already told Luzar that if they put him back in, we just gonna forfeit the game on Saturday. I said because we're gonna take our chance of getting in the OAL, the NorCal as a runner-up team. I said I'm not gonna play 4 games in 5 days and then expect to go into the NorCal and play that Tuesday. And so I'd already determined that we weren't going to show up. And then when they put them back in, they determined the game was going to play at an undisclosed location with no fans. And my kids were all upset. I said, look, y'all celebrate this win against Tech tonight and sleep in tomorrow because we're not going to go play that game. And I don't know what Clint told his kids, but listen to Armand's comments that I intentionally didn't show up so that they would be screwed. In the case, because I had determined, earlier that we weren't going to play all those games. And I told Clint that, and I don't know what Clint told them. But Armand, brother, I didn't have nothing to do with you not playing, brother, because I don't get down like that. So I just wanted to clarify that and get that out there.
That's big. That's important. I
Definitely,
remember that
man.
whole fiasco went down too, so it's good to get some clarification on that.
Write the book.
Which book? I wrote 2 books. The first one,
The first, the under,
Agony.
the first, yeah, yeah.
Well, that was such a special season, man. It was like a fairy tale season. And it was funny because everybody was raving about Coach Carter, you know, and that, man, they need to
Hold
make
on,
a movie out of this. Like,
slow down, Coach Carter, because you're around two of them. We got Coach Alonzo Carter, and then we got Coach Carter
yeah,
over in Richmond, right? So you're talking
I'm
about the
talking about the
Richmond Coach,
rich. Yeah,
the
yeah,
Richmond
because,
Coach.
when the same thing they did to Fremont that year when they got all that publicity, they did us the same way the first year, because I had I used to play ball against a coach before Coach Carter, who was the AD, Roy Rogers, and he lives out here in Hercules. I ran into him. He's talking about let's play a game, and I was like, well, coach, man, I'm gonna have a really good team, man. I'm not trying to play no games where they gonna have running clocks and shit. He was like, nah, coach, we gonna be really good. And so we got ready to play the game. I think they was something like 14-1. So I'm like, well, they ain't playing the competition we playing, but hey, you never know. Looked like they had good size and stuff. And I remember that game. They came to MACK to play, and Tuck had missed practice before. Said I told him he could take the day off. I said, son, I ain't told you nothing like that. You must have misunderstood. He's like, nah, coach, you did. I said, well, dude, I don't remember telling you that. So you're gonna have to come off the bench. So he didn't play the first or third quarter. He still ended up with 27, and we beat them 90-40. And the last quarter was a running clock. But I had agreed to play them a home and home game. So I figured, I'm a man of my word. I'm going to honor this game. And so I went to see them play. They were playing Albany. And at halftime, the score was 12-10. And I left at halftime and said, man, this is going to be a dunkathon. So I get a call from Coach Carter talking about rescheduling the game. And coach, I hear you guys gonna be good. Y'all good enough to win state. I said, well, you know what, coach, that's one of our goals, but we got a lot of other goals prior to that goal. So we're gonna be all right. So he rescheduled the game, something about the girls had a game. But it's already on my schedule. So people went over to the game thinking we were playing. And the girls was practicing. And they said, well, ain't supposed to be MACK playing. Oh, the MACK coach canceled the game. I was like, we canceled the game. Now they got it wrong, so I didn't think nothing of it. So when the game was rescheduled, a few days before the game, he called me again. Wasn't no heat in the gym, and the principal didn't want them playing because somebody could get injured. So we rescheduled the game again. So then, prior to the third time, we were supposed to be on Sports Focus that night after the game. My athletic director called me. Said the Kennedy coach didn't call here for you. Maybe you want to cancel the game again. I said, oh, I doubt it. Probably some details about the game or something. I said, because shit, he could have called me here at work. He got my work number and my house number. So I hadn't heard back from him. So I called his little office because, he had a sport goods store. His partner answered, oh, coach, you at your office? Stay there because he need to talk to you. I said, all right. It's about 1 o'clock. 3 o'clock, I still ain't heard nothing. So I called the school. The AD was gone, so I asked if the principal's around. And I talked to the principal. And he tells me that he said, well, coach, I can tell you right now, there's not going to be a game tomorrow. It's not even on the schedule. He said, matter of fact, I was disappointed that you canceled the first 2 times because I was looking forward to seeing your team play. Because I think we was like number 2 in the East Bay behind St. Joe's, I think it was. And so I'm like, we never canceled a game. Your coach called and canceled each time. And so I said, well, man, you need to do something about your coach because he giving your school a bad name, you know. And if it ain't no game, my AD already talking about never playing Richmond in no sports anymore anyhow. And he said, well, I'm sorry, man, but there's definitely not going to be a game. So I'm hella mad. So I'm on my way home, and I decided to stop at Deanza to see Fremont play Deanza so I could scout Fremont. So one of the guys come up to me and say, when y'all play a game? Oh, I said, well, shit, we supposed to be playing Richmond tomorrow, but I found out that game canceled. He said, well, shit, that a Richmond coach sitting up there. I look at the top of the bleachers. I said, man, let me go holler at this motherfucker, Here I'm waiting all day for him, and he's sitting here watching the goddamn basketball game. So he see me walking up, and he say, Coach Nathaniel, I'm glad I seen you. I've been trying to reach you all day. I said, dude, how the fuck you been trying to reach me all day when I've been trying to reach you and was told to stay at my office because you going to call me? And he was like, well, coach, we couldn't play because we somehow. I said, dude, that's bullshit. He said the principal didn't want us to play because of the heat still ain't on. I said, that's bullshit, dude. I talked to your principal today. He told me you told him we canceled the first two times. He say, well, we couldn't get referees. He didn't know the guy sitting in front of him was a referee assigner that was evaluating the refs during the game. I looked down and Paul looked at me and said, Coach, you can get refs 2 hours before the game. I said, see, dude, that's what I'm saying. You're here blowing smoke up my ass, man. You don't know me. I'll throw you out these motherfucking bleachers. Well, Eric Culberson and Josh Shavies, they down there sitting down below. They look, Coach, everything all right with you? I said, yeah, everything all right with me, but this motherfucker might come flying down y'all way in a minute. He keep trying to blow smoke up my ass. And so then he say, well, Coach, how late you gonna be up tonight? I said, dude, it don't matter how late I'm gonna be up. If you calling me to tell me we playing, but if you calling to tell me ain't calling to tell me we playing, don't call my fucking house. So about 12:30, my phone rang. Coach, this Coach Carter. Man, I was thinking that maybe I get some referees and bring them and my team over to your school and we scrimmage y'all. I said, dude, what part of don't call me unless you call in to schedule the game did you not understand? He said, well, coach, and I slammed the phone down in his face. Next thing I know, next day I get up, I got Sports Center on. They showing Kenny Carter. Good Morning America, Kenny Carter. Kenny Carter all over every fucking thing. This high school coach had the destiny, uh, to lock his kids out of the gym because they didn't meet the grades. Now, granted, it took a 2.0 to be eligible. He said they had 2.0s, but the contract was that they was going to maintain a 2.5. And I'm like, we just came off Christmas break. It ain't no grades in then. I said, dude, trying to avoid this ass whooping. I told Clint, and then they show him putting a padlock on the gym. Like the gym ain't being used nothing but basketball. Talking about it's affecting 45 kids. I say now he had about 10 varsity players, had about 8 JV players, and I didn't even see the freshman team because I never went to go see freshman games. I said, man, this dude just lying left and right. Then I told Clint, I said, well, they play St. Joe's on Tuesday. Well, that Monday, oh man, they done now a week done passed. They done bought their grades back up to a 2.5. They showed them taking the padlock off the gym, and and they showed them conducting practice with a shirt and tie on, blowing the whistle. I'm like, man, this dude's a joke. And so a couple of friends of mine that played and coached in the league, they said they told reporters, man, that was some bullshit. But he had got so much positive press, nobody wanted to write anything recanted. And about 4 years afterwards, they put an article in the East Bay Express talking about it and stuff. And so I was like, man, this dude then took this and got all this pub. Now they done brought out a movie. And, Coach Carter from MACK was training Courtney Alexander, who was on that team, and he was a tight end for the Oakland Raiders. So they had MACK, and I see him, and I hollered at the big fella, and he was talking to me. He said, Coach, I walked out the movie. That whole movie is fabricated. I said, yeah, well, when I heard you guys had won the championship and all that, I knew it was fabricated because you guys didn't win shit that year. Didn't even win league. you know. And right now, I got somebody gave me the Coach Carter movie as a gift. It's in there with my elections. Ain't never been unwrapped because I refuse to watch the movie and stuff. So yeah, Coach Carter. But anyhow, everybody was talking about that '08 season, and that was a fairy tale type season, man. I mean, it's some games we still trying to figure out how we won.
Yeah, like at
Mm.
Especially
Oakland
that
High.
Ohio
Low,
game.
standing room only, dog. Standing room only. We winning. This Dame too. Dame is just going off.
Mm.
I can't remember we down one or it was tied. I can't really remember.
No,
I mean, it
it
had to be
tied the
tied.
game.
Yeah, it had to be tied.
It
We
was
get the
tied.
ball. I'm not gonna say who it was. I'm gonna just say I'm really good friends
Dontrell
with his
Campbell.
older brother. Let's just say
Dontrell
that.
Campbell.
Gets the ball right under the basket, all by itself. Smokes the layup.
Smoke the layup.
Wow.
The
We
season would have
get the
never
ball
happened.
with we get the ball with 3.8 seconds left and call a timeout. And I'm like, shit, can we run? Then I thought about it. I said, oh, I got the perfect play. I said, oh shit, we can't run the play. They said, why? I said, because Mook don't know it. Because when we were working on it that night before, Mook had been injured. So I told him, dude, you're gonna play tomorrow, but you need to rest your knee. So I look down, we going over, Mook on the other end of the court with his phone, texting and shit. I'm like, Mook, see, dude, you need to be paying fucking attention and shit. So when I told him, I said, we can't run that move. He said, Coach, I swear, I know the play. I know the play. I said, well, that's what we gonna do. We finna run this. And the ball go to him. He started to push it, advance, and they come to trap. He make that cross court pass, and Memo just pulled up. And I'm worried because Damon Powell, that nigga try to go get everything. So I'm thinking Damon just gonna catch it and dunk it. But if he do that, it's not gonna count because Memo just got the shot off in time. So if Dame touch it, it wasn't gonna be a basket. Dame jumps, but he don't touch the ball, and it hits nothing but net and shit. And I was like, man. But I
Mm.
told people them last 2 years, you know how as a player you get in zones, where it seems like the basket side of a lake. No matter what you do, you throw everything going. You're in that zone. Them last 2 years, I felt like I was in a coaching zone because every decision I made seemed to be the right decision. And I remember when we first started the season out, everybody's talking about it's going to be a down year in the OAL. Man, that was one of the toughest years in the OAL. We played Fremont that opening game at Fremont, and the game went to overtime. Now, with 2 minutes to go in that overtime, we had like a 3-point lead. We won that game by 17 points,
Dang.
and I was like, wow. And that I remembered that because that's why I didn't take my starters out in that state game when we were up big like that. Because I was like, just like we did it to Fremont, somebody could do it to us. When I thought about it, I said, man, I should at least took Memo and Mook out, let them get their standing ovation. But I wasn't taking no chances. I'm like, man, if we could score that many points in 2 minutes, somebody else can.
Yeah,
Plus
especially
the year
Jordan Hamilton.
before, yeah, especially the year before, I could see we didn't have the energy. We weren't competing. So I decided with a couple minutes to go, I think we were down like 8 or something like that. I said, well, man, we may not get back here. Let me put these other guys on the floor. At least let them get on the court doing Arco at the Arco. They get their name in the official scorebook and everything. So I subbed all my guys out. Uh, what you call it? They subbed all their guys out. Man, they went on like a 13 to nothing run them last 2 minutes. Now it's like a blowout. They talking about how embarrassing it was. We got blew out. I'm like, well, damn, we was playing like shit, but at least we was still in the game. And then I said, yeah, okay, let me learn from this shit and fuck letting everybody play. you know. Then we played, and the next time we played Fremont at back, Damon Powell got a put back at the buzzer, and we ended up beating them by one and shit because they
Mm.
almost beat us. But the game that was a trip was the Skyline game. We went to 3 overtimes. And at one point, Kwame goes up and scores and gets fouled with a second to go. And I'm like, oh shit. Now Kwame was their best player, best free throw shooter, everything. And one of my assistant coaches, he said, Coach, you got a timeout. So I called timeout just for the ref gave him the ball. Man, when we come out the timeout, Kwame go to the line. Now Damon Powell, Mook all fall out. I got like 5 guards on the floor. Man, I don't know if it was a gust of wind or Kwame shot a curveball. but it looked like just as the ball got to the something blew it, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. And we were already saying that maybe it was divine intervention, man, because we were winning games. We don't know how we won that year, you know. And I was like, man, this is just our year. And on top of that, it was so many different things that happened tragedy wise, and the kids were still they preserved. You know, I was like, man, these kids staying on point, and we were pulling games out the game. You know, we played Grant, and that's when the guys, I guess, lower bottom and Ghost Town was funking. They were shooting after the game, and a couple people got shot. And Barry, one of my JV players, he got shot in the thigh. Will Cherry, little brother, got shot in the ass. You know, uh, all that type of stuff was happening, but the kids were still, you know, handling their business. And shoot, before the playoffs, Newark game, shit, Will Cherry's uncle had got murdered, and that was his third uncle to die from gun violence. You know, and Will, I was like, well, dude, if you want to, we probably could still win this game. You don't play, man. And he said, nah, coach. My uncle would want me to play. That kid had an unbelievable game that night. You know, it's just like stuff just kept happening, you know, and we just kept getting through it, you know. Boo's dad had a stroke. You know, Mook's grandfather died. You know, we were just dealing with one thing after another, one thing after another, you know. But we hung in there, man. Those kids got it done. So everybody was talking about, man, they're gonna write a book about this. It should be a movie. And I was like, well, usually before there's a movie, there's a book. So I decided that, you know, I'm gonna write a book about this, you know, and document the season. And so a lot of people that was at the game could relive those memories, and people that wasn't, they could experience it. But it gave them a different perspective. I wanted them to get into the take them into the locker room and the huddle and the perspective of the players and the coaches and their mindsets during all those times. And so I wrote the book, Agony to Ecstasy, the Perfect Season.
Excellent
And
book, by the
stuff.
way.
So
Coach
yeah.
Mo, we want to thank you for coming on, Coach. Man, been a great enlightening interview, man. Especially them stories. I know you got stories for days about all the things.
Hey,
Thanks for letting us know how the recruiting trip go down with certain players. The Armand
hey,
Wainwright story, the Johnny Larego story. Like them are some excellent stories that we just don't know from the outside looking in, right? So we want to
yeah,
appreciate you for
yeah.
coming on and enlightening us with all of these things, man. So before we get out of here, Coach, man, say some last words for our viewers.
Well, man, like I said, I had a great run, but I always tell people I don't care how good a coach you are, you got to have good players. And I had some great players, man, and had a great run at the MACK house. So I
Absolutely.
wouldn't have it no other way.
Coach, I
Well,
gotta
man,
ask you.
y'all keep doing what y'all doing, blood, because like I said, I've been enjoying watching all these episodes of the podcast. What's that, Ken?
Before we go, I gotta know this. Who wins the dunk contest out of Luke Mon and Dan Powell?
Wow, that's a hard
I
one,
would throw
man.
Hook in there, but that might make it even tougher.
Hey, people don't realize when we were in the eighth grade, my AAU team, I used to tell Hook they try to dunk. I said, Hook, stop, dude. You're probably the only one on the team would never be able to dunk. The next year, the ninth grade, this kid averaging almost 10 dunks a game and stuff.
Mm.
And we used to play at EOYDC, and man, that gym, that rim used to echo in there, man. And Hook used to be tearing that rim off. But to go back, man, I don't know. I've seen both of them do some amazing dunks. So I just put it like this: we got to have that dunk contest to see who would win, man.
Set it up.
Hey,
Set it
Hey,
up.
I'm class
yep.
of '98. I'm going with Luke, mom, man. I watched Luke do some dunks in that
Hey,
'98, man.
all right,
So
fellas, it's
It's
been
all
nice,
good. Thanks,
man.
Mo.
hey, on, coach.
Thanks for having me on.
It's
All
all
right,
good. Yes,
talk
sir.
to you
All
guys
right.
later.
All right.
All right, bye bye.
Man, I loved it. I loved it. Well, Man, that's a wrap, man. Another good episode coming to you guys with Coach Mo from McClymonds High School. Definitely make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Rec Center. I'm Kenny Edwards, Lorenzo Parham. We out.